parents didn't necessarily eat the best of diets. We didn't know that much about the nutritional aspect. Now, my mother had various health issues, but she lived to be 97, nearly 98, and my dad almost made 89. So longevity runs in the family. Now,
Yes.
they didn't face the same challenges I did because
Lives a different life than you.
I don't even like to think about the details of that, Libby, but straight out of the Colombian jungles, man, I used to get this crap. I remember throwing these parties. No one would ever leave. That was the thing. If you were providing the blow, you would have people at your house, and you were already passed out after a 2-day binge, and they were still there at the table. Going, hey, you want this crap? What the hell was I thinking, too? I mean, I was really just starting out here in Miami. I remember a few times going to work thinking, I'm fine. I interviewed Pat Riley, coked out of my mind one day. I'm not sure that the conversation went as smoothly as I normally would have anticipated.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
I have to laugh every time I go back and think about that, Lubie. The drug created some awkward moments. I was at 940 Winds back in the old days when they had they had this kind of atrium, a very nice office, but it was in Carroll City. And not that really had that much to do with the situation I'm about to describe, but I remember going into the bathroom, the men's room, and there's a general manager, real nice guy. His name was Stan Cohn, I believe. I don't want to out him. May he rest in peace if he's not with us anymore. I would think, he's got to be up there, right? Because I was a young guy. He probably was in his 40s.
Okay.
So, and they had a beautiful secretary who just somehow happened to be in the men's room with him, and they're doing a couple of rails there on the sink.
Oh, my God.
I just really had, only been on the job like a month or so. You don't want to kind of concede that, oh, yeah, well, I don't mind dabbling in this either. But you know what? If you guys don't share them with me, I'm going straight to ownership.
Yeah.
How was that? But no, it did create some very, very awkward moments, that particular drug. And all I can think of is Huey Lewis, right? I need a new drug. Every time you were doing it, you would think, I need a new drug, something that won't make me sick. All right, good to be with you guys. Never mind drugs and all of that stuff. I've been straight as an arrow for too long now, Lubie. I don't know what you call this, sobriety. I guess it's a variation thereof. I mean, still sucking down my 2 Budweisers after my walk of life, which... were you outside at all yesterday? It really fit that other song, one of my favorites. It should be the theme song of South Florida, maybe all of Florida. I feel like I'm walking on the sun. You remember that song? It was a pretty good song.
Yes.
Feel like I'm walking on the sun. Who did that? I don't remember the name of the band that did that. Might have been One Hit Wonders. I'm not sure.
They were borderline. What the fuck? What are they called?
All right, you're going to put them in the borderline category, and it's generous of you, I think, because I can't think of who the hell did that song. It was good, though.
Well, Smash Mouth. Well, Smash Mouth had a bunch of hits in the mid '90s.
Did you like that song? I feel
Song
like
was solid. Yeah, it was fine. That's fine.
You could have felt like that yesterday. That's for sure, Libby.
Oof.
I visited a friend of mine. He has a little condo on the beach there. Very nice place, man. Picture windows. This might be the way to go. Although, no, with the kid on the way, you need pretty much the situation that you have right now.
I'm staying here for now.
Nice single-family home in the suburbs there with good neighbors and a nice neighborhood, nice schools and everything. Now, you're set up perfectly, Louie.
For now, yes, is where we are.
Old age, though, wouldn't you like to be looking out your bedroom window at the ocean? Wow.
100%. Yep.
Now, it happened to be a beautiful day yesterday with regards to scenic view, but once you walked outside, my God.
Yeah,
what a blast furnace that was. And it's to the point now, I don't know if you remember doing this in New York when it got particularly hot by the time you got to the middle of the summer. All beaches were at the point where they were so crowded that there was barely any sand. But the sand was so overwhelmingly hot that you would actually walk on the tips of everybody's blankets and towels that were spread out on the beach. People didn't really bring beach chairs back then. You imagine that, Lubie? I grew up in an era where people just laid out on a towel or a blanket. No beach chairs.
That's what I did that when I used to go to the beach. I've never been a beach chair person.
See, I always was. You could rent a chair at Jones Beach.
Yeah.
And it wasn't uncommon. Everybody had the rented umbrellas and the rented beach chairs. But for the most part, going to Coney Island, Manhattan Beach, and then Jones Beach. You would have to make sure that you walked on the other person's towel or blanket because otherwise your feet, it would be like walking on hot coals. It was unbelievable. It was kind of like that yesterday. Anyway, good day all the way around. And on the sporting front, is it possible that we have to practice singing the national anthem? Do you still remember the words, Libby, or
I know the
have they
words.
been altered by the current administration?
I don't know what their words are, but I know the words we always sang.
Oh, say, can you see all the corruption under me? No,
Yes.
I mean, look, America at Wimbledon. We have a shot, Luby.
Yay.
We're in there with a shot. And I believe my friend was quoting me the odds yesterday. I thought it was phenomenal. You have a matchup today with the exciting young talent, Ben Shelton, now ranked, I believe, 10th in the world. So he's in
Yes.
the top 10.
Yes.
And he's taken on Yannick Sinner, who got very fast. I mean, he was extremely fortunate to survive the last round of the tournament there as he was getting smoked by Grigor Dimitrov. And Dimitrov's up 2 sets to none, and it's 2-2 in the third. Dimitrov's play hadn't dropped off any. There was no indication that all of a sudden Sinner was just going to come back and smoke him, as we've seen many, many times. Usually the heavyweight of the matchup, when there's some, I don't know, you couldn't really call Dimitrov an upstart, but he certainly was an overwhelming underdog in this match. Andy was getting plus 1,100 on Dimitrov to win the match when it started out, and he was still getting a payoff of 5-1 after he was up 2 sets. Can you imagine, Luby?
Oh, geez.
I was still a 5-1 underdog after two. He's up 2 sets. He
Up
only has
2
to win one
sets.
of the next three. He's playing great. He's outplaying Sinner. Sinner's going like this every minute with his elbow. Well, that wasn't his elbow. It was Dimitrov that had the shoulder. I think it was a torn pectoral also, which knocked him out of the tournament. But nonetheless, Sinner certainly. I'm not sure what the status of his injury is. I haven't seen anything. Have you seen any reports on that movie? I don't know.
No.
Checking that deeply into it. Not that
No, but I've been on the lookout. I haven't seen anything about what's going on with him.
Had an MRI yesterday. Had a day off yesterday, and the match is scheduled for later on today. It's coming up actually, I believe, in the morning sometime, like maybe 8:30. They get it underway or 9:30, something like that. Sinner versus Shelton today, and Shelton is a 3-1 underdog in this match. Wouldn't you take a shot on that? I mean, you might want to grab 100 out of your ATM machine and take a shot on that down at the Hard Rock or wherever.
Yeah, especially if it. So they're gonna the match is scheduled as normal, as supposed to just happen, like because Sinner didn't look.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, on the schedule that I'm looking at, it would be scheduled. I don't know that they would take it down. There's been no announcement that I've seen that Sinner's going to drop out of this, and I would think he would give it a go anyway. Semifinals, even if his elbow was a little bit dicey, wouldn't you go ahead and at least give it a shot?
That's what it seems like.
Unless in warm-ups you were being so tortured. I mean, he was continuing this match with Dimitrov. He wasn't going to retire. It didn't seem like it. He's there 2-2 in the third set. Has a possibility. Wow. Brian got 48-1 on Shelton. That was his sleeper pick.
Yes.
We have a sharp audience here, Lubie. Never say, oh, well, these sports talk clowns. I can't believe it, right? It's like one of those things. I remember there were a couple of shows where guys were doing like a love line relationship sort of talk show, but the host actually hated women. And then the person's demise, downfall would be that they left the mic open during a break.
Yep.
I was saying, can you believe these bitches? Static after that. Static.
Yep.
But no, we love our audience. We've always had a very sharp audience when
Yep.
we were doing radio, and now even doing this. And at 48-1, Brian got on Ben Shelton to win the tournament.
Yep.
Got a long road, though, wouldn't he have? I mean, he's got a lot to overcome, Ben Shelton. He's got to beat Sinner today at 3-1 price. I would imagine, Brian, are you going to press your bet there? Because this would be the time to cash, wouldn't it? Go ahead and bet whatever you had at 48-1, a substantial chunk, and put it in at 3-1 on Ben Shelton. Because if he doesn't make it, look, he's still got to mow down. He would have to beat the winner of this young Italian, Caboli, is taking on the Joker. Now, on the surface, you would just say, Caboli, forget about it. I never heard of this guy, Caboli. Another young Italian player that appears to have some serious chops when it comes to playing on the grass. And this guy's been real good. He beat Marin Cilic, who was making a comeback. and is the kind of guy that has a strong game for grass court competition. But this guy has a wicked serve, Caboli. Not quite Shelton-esque, but he really and defensively. You talk about court coverage. Alcaraz would be the number one in that category.
Yeah.
But this Caboli's no slouch. I never heard of him. Djokovic has been playing great, and Joker has that mental toughness, Lubie, we always talk about. Are you with the professor on that? Has he convinced you that mental toughness doesn't exist in sports? That it's
He's worried about clutch.
fantasy intangible. What do you think?
The term clutch is overused.
Clutch, yeah.
It's like guys you ignore when they are good because they're bad at the back end, but let's say they were good in the middle, it all evens out. I tend to lean that I think clutch is people are a little dramatic about the term clutch. We play it after the result, but there are certain guys that if you see it over a long period of time do rise to the occasion. There are certain guys that don't. So I think, I mean, it is there. It is human nature to see certain guys just excel and when the lights are bright. So I can see either side, but I do lean to the belief that it exists. I mean, it's clearly guys that, like, in the biggest of moments, everything slows down, whereas for other people, it sort of speeds up.
See, I'm just the opposite on that. I believe it's very much a tangible element in any form of competition. You don't necessarily. It's not post race handicapping to determine a clutch player because you were accustomed to certain people, certain players delivering in those spots.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them, in my opinion, clutch. I know Dan Levitard was big with that. He used to have like show after show about either racism or whether or not clutch actually existed. I think definitively so. You have many players that you're thinking, okay, good, this guy's up there, he's going to deliver it, and you're more amazed that when they fail in that spot than you are when they come through.
Yes.
Halliburton in the playoffs was clutch.
Yes.
Even though he was more clutch than he was consistent, because he would have his ups and downs during the course of the game, and you're asking yourself, where is this guy? And then how many game-winning and game-tying shots did he hit? So, and he did that the majority of the time. So in my estimation, that's a clutch player. Mental toughness, is that different from clutch? Are we splitting hairs here? Talking about?
I mean, it's the same. It's from the same thing. I mean, look, in tennis, you see it. Like, there are guys that we've seen it with Joker. We've seen the guys that can get down, and you're ready to just stop watching. You think the match is over, and these guys fight back from 2 sets down. Like, that is clearly mental toughness. And to make that shot and that moment is clutch. I mean, to me, they go hand in hand, I guess.
Maybe a slight differential there. Mental toughness seems to be an overall thing. Clutch is obviously reserved for
moments, yes.
Judging performance in big moments, as Tony Segreto is going to join us later. On Old School would say, it's he who and she who can react to the moment. Certain players come up big in those spots. I mean, you have quarterbacks that come through. Look, Joe Montana, was he not a clutch player? No,
yes.
He was mentally tough because he was super cool. Much more so. It isn't like tennis players do this, though. And I'm watching this. It amazes me that they see. Are you inclined to? This self-deprecation is great if you're making fun of yourself. But if you're constantly beating yourself up, like after every shot, you have somebody, why? And now they're looking up at the box there, and they're going nuts, and trying to sort of disparage themselves, like how could you do this? Can you do that after every shot? Tennis players are particularly prone or inclined to be overly self-deprecating in that regard. Where after every miss, they're making a face and they're exasperated. I don't know. I mean, does that not seem like a very counterproductive way to approach sports? What do you think, Lubie? Where you miss a shot and you're like, fuck, how can I miss? Sorry.
To do it to do it every ball. It's a little
every play.
Yeah, it's a little.
You watch Sabalenka after every missed shot. She's making a face, and I mean, she's doing it to. She doesn't carry on about it as long as she did in the past. But does it not seem counterproductive to be doing that to yourself constantly? It's kind of like having a coach screaming at you all the time when you make a mistake in a game, and they just won't let it go, and you're thinking, enough already. I'm a good player, or whatever. I mean, you think you're capable of certain things. Would you not think that from a psychological standpoint? you're doing more damage by being that way than, for example, I mean, even on the lowest of levels, let's talk about it, right? The Alzheimer's Cup. Dr. Jerry, who's lost the last 400 sets that we've played, like two points in, he's firing rackets against the fence.
Really? It's
Like get used to it.
He's shocked. You can't move. Just be happy you're out there.
It's not the same player. You're 74 years old. Unfortunately, Father Time has not been as kind to you as maybe it has been to others.
Yeah.
And when you can't move 2 feet to go to get a ball, I mean, what's the point of throwing your racket against the fence because you can't bend over to pick it up?
Exactly.
But is it going to help the guy play the game better? I don't think so.
Look, sometimes it gets you fired up. Like McEnroe, it helped him to occasionally throughout a match lose it, or at least he couldn't control himself, and allowing him to expel the emotion allowed him to get whatever it did. He didn't do it the whole match though. Like he would do it in certain points when he just couldn't take the call and he was frustrated. Like to do it an entire match is weird. Like it's just excessive.
And right from the start too. I mean, it's one thing you're getting smoked and you sort of get down on yourself and you realize you're going to lose anyway. You're resigned to that. Where do we see it most? Do we see it most in tennis? We see it in basketball. We don't see it. Do we see it in baseball? Not to the same level. I guess also that these guys are in action more frequently in terms of the play just continuing. And after every shot, though, the women are particularly inclined to do this. Guys have huge outbursts also, screaming at themselves. Thinking of, I don't know, you ever seen this guy, Andrei Rublev? Pretty good player. They got the red hair and strange looking haircut. You'd think he could get a better haircut, but in interviews, he's fine. And on the court, he is just absolutely demonic about his own play. You see this a lot. But getting back to it, I mean, we do have two guys alive. Taylor Fritz is on to the semifinals already, and Ben Shelton's trying to get there. Shelton has to knock off Sinner. And then he would have to knock off, if Djokovic prevails today, he would have to knock off Djokovic. And then in all likelihood, he would have to beat Alcaraz. Alcaraz is Alcaraz playing Fritz now in the next match? Yeah, Fritz versus Alcaraz. So they're in the semifinals. Can Fritz get by Alcaraz? That's a good question. What do you think? Alcaraz looked great yesterday. He had been vulnerable a little bit during the course of the tournament, but is this one of those deals where, talk about clutch, he picked it up in the second week of the Wimbledon? Now, he hasn't faced the kind of challenges in terms of name players that you would normally expect. You'd probably have to beat somebody that was more significant along the way, but he breezed in his match yesterday in straight sets. Now he takes on Taylor Fritz, who nearly got knocked out of the tournament. By all rights, should have been gone in the first round. That guy Paracord was dominating. He was up 2-0, and Fritz came back and won that, but it wasn't easy, and they had to come back the second day. So what are the chances here that one of the men, Ben Shelton or Taylor Fritz, breaks through and finally wins a first slam since Andy Roddick? What was that, the U.S. Open that he won in 2003? We've asked this question.
Yes, it was U.S. Open 2003, the last male man American to win a Grand Slam.
Okay, all right.
Major, whatever the fuck. Whatever.
And on the women's side, we have, is it Amanda? I believe it's Amanda Anisimova.
Yes.
Who sounds like she is Russian, but she's actually from the good old U.S. of A.
Yes.
And she's still in there, but no small assignment. This might be an easier match for Sabalenka. Sabalenka was challenged yesterday, lost the first set to this German girl. Not girl, I mean, no, I think she was the oldest player maybe in the tournament. Was the oldest in some time to make the quarterfinal round on the women's side, Sigmund. And may as well have been Sigmund Freud because she got inside the head of Sabalenka with this Vegematic game. It really looked like Ron Popeil had invented this strategy, slicing and dicing and dicing and slicing and drop shots and this and that, stuff that's very effective on the grass. And you talk about taking somebody out of their own game. She actually, towards the end of the match, when it was still very much in question in the third set, late in the third set, had Sabalenka doing the same thing. Sabalenka, who hits nothing but howitzers, is hitting this, You weren't a forehand slice guy, were you, Lubie, when you were playing high school tennis there?
Not a slice per se, but it wasn't like I had power.
That inside out crap. It's like you're Ted Abernathy or something.
It's very hard to hit.
Ball. Unbelievable. Yeah, she had Sabalenka hitting these goofy slice shots. And I'm looking at it, I was in stunned disbelief. I'm thinking, Arena, how could you do this? I know it's not working. What the hell you were doing? That you can't hit a rocket on every shot
Yeah.
against this type of no pace game that you're getting from Sigmund. But wow, I mean, she took her right to the brink of defeat there, and then kind of fell apart the last few games. And Sabalenka found a way to figure it out. But much more suited for Anisimova, who plays more of a power game. So that could be some wild exchanges that take place in that particular match. So Wimbledon's been great. Major League Baseball. Wow. Well, what do we say now, Louis? How? I mean, do you put Grey Poupon on Crow? What do you do? Use a spicy mustard? Ask Mayo.
I hope it keeps happening. Like, I'm not going to cast this. I like being wrong. The fact that their offense has been this consistent, and look, the pitching. I mean, they both ends of the spectrum were strong. I mean, and I get it. The Reds aren't a juggernaut, but they were supposed to be right there with the bad teams of baseball, and they've now, what, 11 of 13, 11 of 14?
6 games under 500, past the midway point of the season. I know the All-Star game's coming up, but that's no longer a measuring stick of whether you're at the midpoint. So I believe they played more than half of their 162 at this stage, and only 6 games under 500 with a winning record, one of a handful of teams in Major League Baseball with a winning record on the road, albeit by one game. But still, what is the old formula, Lubie? I mean, you go all the way back. You can ask Bill James this. Is Bill James still alive, or did he check out? I want to say dead. Bill James, dead or alive? The
he's alive.
Baseball abstract guy.
I think he's alive.
Check that out for me, because I don't want to put him in his grave. We've done that with so many people over the years on the show. Bill James, baseball abstract, dead or alive?
Alive. He's 75. He's
75. He's very much alive.
He's making him 90, 110.
Did it seem like that was an old theory, baseball abstract?
Very old, and I think it was from the 70s. I mean, he did it as a young man, and he's now in his 70s.
All right. Well, one of the tried and true formulas about success in Major League Baseball, championship caliber success, is have a strong record at home, which you would figure that you would, and play 500 ball on the road. That was always the goal. So here are the Marlins, whose record at home isn't awful by the standards that we would have expected at the beginning of the season. You would have thought that they would have been buried at home as well. And they have a 1 game above 500 record. I think it's 22-21 on the road after beating the Reds last night. I happened to catch that rally that they had. I think it was the second or third inning. Might have been the second inning when they put 7 on the board. This Agustin Ramirez is a delightful guy.
Yes. People want to make sure the Marlins sign him to a very long deal now.
How could you not? What do you think's going to happen? Will he be traded right after the All-Star break? What do you think?
Ramirez and Perez are the two guys that they seem to be building their franchise around. My problem is, what about Cabrera and Stowers? Like, Stowers has been a very interesting story, and people are already like, well, if you're going to trade him, get a haul. I'm like, get it. Trade him.
Already? Wow.
He's a young, well, no, people are just, you assume, like Alcantara and
saying he's maybe untradeable. I don't know.
I mean, he's played
well. Up and down. He had a couple of good starts, and then he got whacked the last time.
Yeah. He had 3 good starts, and then last time he was out, he wasn't good. Like Alcantara, a lot of people expect to be gone fine, but like Cabrera's pitched well. He's still actually pretty young. You still have Mayer. You have, like, these are the guys, to me, I would build around.
Yuri Perez. No.
Yeah. And then you have the young guys in the lineup that are hitting the ball well. Like, why would you, like, people are just ready for them to trade players. I'm like, these are the players that you have, that you built.
How would you trade these guys?
I'm like, these are the guys you build around. So I don't know. I guess people are so conditioned, but I know they're interesting. They're a very interesting team.
It doesn't look like, I mean, these guys don't remind you necessarily of a young Stanton, Yelich, and Ozuna.
No, they're different.
They had. Okay. They're not quite in that category as of yet, although they haven't had enough time to establish that. But I mean, think about that. They had those 3 guys at one time.
We know.
And got rid of them all.
They did.
And then instead of prospering a few years later, they flirted. They made a postseason a couple of times,
Yes.
which was beyond amazing. But shouldn't you, if you're going to go ahead and go into a free fall for 5 years while you wait for the prospects you acquired to become major leaguers and be competent on the major league level, should it take 5 years and all you do is sniff the playoffs 2 times for giving up Yelich, Ozuna, and Giancarlo Stanton?
Oh no, I mean you're giving
Among
up
others,
those
too.
guys. You give up those guys so that within 5 years you're like contending for World Series. Like again, and that's why we were very skeptical of giving up those guys because they had yet to prove that they could do anything in trades. And we were right. Every single trade for those 3 guys was an utter disaster. And they didn't accrue back anything that became a piece that you could build on. Alcantara was the closest thing. He did win a Cy Young, but they didn't do anything with him. Like all they've done the last 2 years, wait for him to wake up so that they could trade him.
Where's Louis Brinson today?
Yeah, exactly. Monte Harrison, and like, I mean, there was a whole slew of pitchers. I mean, it was just a disaster. Like, so Benedict's showing, at least if he makes moves to get rid of guys, and he got rid of way less talent. He didn't have anything like Stanton or
that was some trio there.
What he had to get rid of was way less. He seemed to accrue back players that are actually good for less, which is what we've been sort of hoping for as Marlins.
How stupid do we look if these guys end up? And what's weird, I keep looking at this projection thing. I don't know how they're calculating this. Yeah. Is it by level of competition that you're going to be playing? Because how can you really make a judgment there in baseball, where any given night, clearly anybody can do anything? But they're still only projected to win 71 games on the season, Lubie.
Yeah, because it's a very small sample size of good. The rest of it was not good. It's like 15 games where they've turned it around and they're playing way better baseball. I mean, before then, they were amongst the league's worst. They literally got swept by one of the worst teams in baseball. So that's sort of like, and even by percentages, again, like, yes, 71's better than 64 or whatever the hell the number was, but they have to keep doing it. So look, I don't mind being wrong because I've rarely been wrong when it comes to the Marlins. So I hope I am wrong that they did this junking this time and that they have the right guy at the helm to figure it out, as opposed to Bindfest and Loria with whoever the hell else they had in the past. Like, I hope Bendix is the guy to do the junking and then carry them into a place where they spend and they win and they're the next Astros. I hope that's true. 15 games isn't going to do it for me.
No. Speaking of the Astros, people always denigrate the Astros because they keep talking about the cheating and the sign stealing and all of that stuff. And to tell you the truth, I guess, look, sign stealing has been a part of baseball and sports, baseball especially. Remember Joe Garagiola? He couldn't make a comment without talking about the signs. Mm-hmm. Well, they got to go out there and change the signs now. They got a guy on second base. It's like, just shut up, Joe. Jesus. Let me watch the game. It was worse, and I love Tim McCarver, and I like Garagiola as a commentator. I don't know. How do you feel about how would you not like Joe Garagiola? He was such a friendly guy. It's kind of like, I mean, if you're disparaging Joe Garagiola, then you didn't even like Yogi Berra. I mean, as a lovable character. And McCarver's analysis was, I thought, pretty much spot on for the most part.
Just
got deeply into things that other color analysts at the time never really delved into, except when he started. I mean, do you become a caricature of yourself when you're analyzing the consistency of the dirt behind home plate? My friend Jack, when we played tennis and we're on the clay, he literally does like a study, about the consistency of the clay. He gets some kind of report where you're thinking, how deeply into this can you be? Your game isn't good enough to care about this. Not making any difference. Stop hitting the ball to the fence, and you might have a better chance. But he gets some geologist out there before the game. Well, I don't know if I can play on this. Can we move to court 8?
We can play on this.
Get out of here.
Like, dude.
People are so
just hit the ball.
I was looking at some league leaders here. Are we going to? Are they back on the juice, Lubie? This Cal Raleigh has 36 home runs. Aaron Judge in a position to win the Triple Crown in the American League. Well, what phenomenal numbers. Yeah, I didn't realize he was still hitting 360. Did you?
No, because he fell off. Didn't he have like a 2 or 3 week stretch where he was rough? I didn't realize he had turned it.
He had like a big slump, didn't he? He was like 3 for 30, and the Yankees were losing every game. And again, like we were talking about, they had Aaron Boone as the number one guy on the hot seat. Judge, 34 homers, so he's 2 behind Raleigh, who keeps hitting them on a consistent basis, obviously. He is hitting 360, so he's way out front. He's 25 points up in the batting average race. This is in the majors, not just the American League. And RBIs, he's 2 behind Suzuki, who I believe was one of the big all-star snubs. Seiya Suzuki, who has 77 RBIs, leads the league, but didn't make the all-star team. Raleigh's got 76 and Judge 75. So very viable. I don't know. Has that been talked about a lot, Judge, Triple Crown? What do you think, Lubie? Has that been sort of overlooked by the sporting media? And usually there's a lot of excitement about that if a guy's that high up.
Problem is, Judge has started to get into this thing where his struggles in the postseason are becoming more than just like coincidence. Like it's 2 or 3 postseasons now where he just has fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
And they needed him. Look, they found a way to get all the way to the World Series with him struggling the entire playoffs because Juan Soto sort of saved their arse. Like people kept saying, if you just got anything from Judge, what could they have done?
Sure.
They needed it against the Dodgers. Like he does this every year, it seems like, right? Like he has these great MVP caliber seasons, and then in the playoffs he's sort of So I look, as much as I think in baseball it's harder in baseball because again, pitchers can just not pitch to you, and it's not simple as, oh, this guy's a dud in the playoffs.
Yeah,
we've seen it. Like they did that with Barry Bonds until he finally had a decent team around him, went all the way to a World Series, carrying the team on his back. And that was with an okay team. Like until then, people wondered about Barry Bonds in the playoffs. You know, he had his issue. So
Bonds was kind of small sample size. That would be my excuse.
Aaron Judge, that's the thing is it's not, right? They're the Yankees. They might not win the World Series every year anymore, but they find their way in the playoffs a lot. And his numbers are sort of So I wonder if that's what people do with him is, okay, dude, we've seen this. Like the Lamar Jackson, right? Like Lamar Jackson's now won multiple MVPs. No one's going to give a crap in the regular. Like another year where they fell off in the postseason and they were supposed to be the best team last year, right? Like Lamar Jackson regular season success won't matter anymore. Like no one's going to give a crap about Lamar Jackson doing anything in the regular season.
Yeah, he has to come through. And
like him and Josh Allen, they're the 2 guys. Like what they do in the regular season won't matter anymore. I mean, we've now seen more than a handful of years of you be really successful in the regular season and fall totally apart in the playoffs. Whether it's your team or you, your team's success has been a disaster in the playoffs. You have made a Super Bowl. You've barely made the conference championship. Like Judge, it feels like is sort of there because he keeps doing this in regular season, these great numbers, but people are getting less and less excited. And after a while, it sort of wears thin on people. They're like, okay, dude, do it when, especially in pinstripes. Like if you don't do it when it matters in pinstripes, they don't give a crap. Like no one cares about
anything.
Not
going to get the Lou Gehrig Award. Huh? All right. So speaking of Yankee baseball here, I wonder if he's wearing his Yankee hat. Oh, no.
You want me to go get it? You want me to go get it?
You don't have to. No, we know you represent. You have pinstripes on your heart. Here's Tony Segreto. We're all still with Tony. Tony's in Vermont having a great time.
Yes, look at him.
We were talking about, I mean, look, we don't want to cry about the heat here. We know we live in Florida. It's going to be hot in the summertime. But literally yesterday, it was like walking on the sun.
Yes, it was brutal.
Now, you look great. You look refreshed. It doesn't look like the heat has beaten you down. So how are you feeling?
I feel great, and I'm ready to go. And I'm thankful I have my computer back.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, you look much better. I mean, you were kind of squeezed in there. It's one of those things where they had to put up a little graphic subtitle their technical difficulties on the NBC News, as you saw, just barely an image of Tony Segreto. Good. And how is it up there in Vermont? What's going on?
It's 67 degrees.
Yeah.
Humidity is
67.
Low. Whoa. 67 degrees.
That didn't sink in right away. Nice.
67 degrees. That's ridiculous.
It's great. It's lovely.
How was the parade?
The parade,
disappointed? Don't tell me.
No, is one of a kind.
Well, there's only one person in it. What was the float this year?
The parade lasted 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Oh,
And
really?
It went a block and a half, and everybody applauded, and that was it.
Is there a school in that town that you live in? Or?
Yes, the Mount Holly School.
Okay.
There's
Were they involved? The cheerleaders, baton twirlers, anything?
cheerleaders, baton twirlers. Now, wait a minute.
Nothing like that? What are we under, some Puritan society?
Like, what are they doing in this
The
parade?
Pilgrims still occupying Vermont?
This is a little school. It goes up to the 7th grade.
Okay. How many people are in it?
About 300.
Oh, that's a lot. Oh, okay. I was thinking you were going to say more like 30 for all of those grades. All right. So you're doing well. What do you think about it? And is Aaron Judge and his quest for the Triple Crown being overlooked and overshadowed by the fact that the Yankees were in the throes of an abysmal slump and that everybody wants to fire Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman again?
Well, the Yankees aren't talked about much up here.
Oh, that's right.
The Red Sox are.
Yeah. And they want to get rid of Cora now too, right?
Yes, they do. And no one wants to speak about the dismal season that they're having because they are just horrible.
Are they not above 500?
Like hovering around 500 too.
Yeah.
That's how weird the AL East is.
Boy, you talk about expectations.
Expectations are.
Yeah.
There are more expectations on them in this area than the Patriots.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah.
Well, the Patriots are in the throes of a big
They
trying
won
to
for
come
30
back
years.
after all of this turmoil. But you know what? How can people cry? How do you feel about this? Where a team's been great for years and years and years, right? Patriots, 20-year dynasty. And they're talking about the Panthers being a dynasty. All right. If they do it again by modern day standards, you win 3 championships in a row. Sort of dynastic, right? You consider the Islanders in that category, even 50 years later or whatever it is. But the Patriots, after 20 years of giving the people of New England that level and that every year they're a championship threat. Should they deserve a break from these people?
You think New Yorkers have a little patience?
Yeah.
Bostonians have less patience. they won't.
Is that because they're drunk all the time?
They're used to the Patriots winning. They're used to the Red Sox winning. They're used to the Celtics winning. They're used to the
Bruins, yeah.
Bruins winning.
See, that's the last 20 years has really made that. How is it they forgot? Because until then, all of them had struggles. The Red Sox struggled for years. The Patriots struggled for years. The Bruins struggled for years. The Celtics in the 90s. I mean, I know they were great up until the 80s, but in the 90s and the 2000s they struggled. But all of them from the mid 2000s on have been they were the whole city of champions. I mean, all 4 of those programs had a lot of success the last 20 years. So now their fans have become spoiled brats, I guess.
It's spoiled as hell.
Wow.
Because you can't even. The Red Sox, for example, they're below 500. They, I forget who they play tonight, but I talked to a diehard Red Sox fan who won't even wear his hat.
They're not that bad.
Aren't they like a few games over 500?
Our friend Brian saying they've gone 8-2 the last 10.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're not sub 500 anymore.
Boston fans are funny.
Yeah. Well, okay. There's an entitlement there, is what you're saying. That maybe even exceeds what they normally perceived to be completely obnoxious, super high expectation New York fans.
Now, New York fans are different because they're just waiting. They're anticipating the World Series.
Yeah.
The Red Sox expect the World Series.
That's kind of odd. I don't know. I could see Patriot fans, running out of patience, being at the bottom. I don't know. Is there any feeling of optimism there with Vrabel coming in?
Probably
a little bit, but they're now on a wait and see attitude because the Patriots feel like
What about Drake May? I mean, this guy could be the answer. No, is he the second coming?
They're waiting to see if Drake May can make it over the top this year, and then they can
Finish
cool.
They're
All
gonna
right.
stay there.
We're going to bring in Ed Garcia here in a sec, but let's take a quick time out, and then we'll have Ed Garcia from Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, a little old school with Tony Segreto. Thought he'd be wearing his Yankee cap today with Aaron Judge going for the Triple Crown, but he's on the other side of the equation there. As I thought I heard your wife in the background screaming, "Fire Boone! Fire Boone!" Runs through the household. All right, back. She's got to be happy with her Tigers. Back with more in a moment. Now that
The time
8:44.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently,
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse.
Tell me, doctor, where are we going?
All right, speaking of Texas Roadhouse, welcome back to the show. Oh, Tony, you got the hat. Did you have to dig that out of a closet? That doesn't look like your usual Yankee hat. Didn't you have a new one, Tony Segreto? That one looks like it was in the washing machine.
If we could take another break. I got
Next
a new,
week,
In
this
the
has
farmhouse?
to be
I got a new one. I got a
Next
blue
week.
one. I got a white one.
bring it. You'll wear them next week. You can do a fashion show.
Yes.
Speaking of great fans, the ultimate Michigan fan joins us here, Ed Garcia, Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Eddie, how are you? How is this July 4th thing? I would imagine packed to the rafters all around the country and around the world. Texas Roadhouse had to just kill it on the 4th of July, no?
Absolutely. I don't know if there was more margaritas or more fireworks, but it was an awesome weekend. Yes, it was really
With
great.
as many margaritas as you sold, they provided their own fireworks.
Oh, no doubt, yeah.
That's right.
That would have been the way to go. Now, how did
That's
you
right.
celebrate the 4th personally there, Ed Garcia?
You know what? It was actually a little bit of relaxing. I just spent some time with the wife, and we watched some fireworks locally and sipped on a margarita, and that was it. It was kind of nice. The kids were out on their own doing their own deals, so we just got to relax and really actually watch the dog, because you know how dogs deal with fireworks. So
My dog would shake like heavens.
My dog doesn't care. He's scared of half the things. That's what's so weird about him.
I have one that's ambivalent to it, my smaller dog, a younger dog, and unfortunately, the great Skipper, he was so deathly paranoid about any kind of noise that he literally would tremble to the point where I thought he was going to pass out. But his hearing is shot now, and that helps.
That helps.
One of the byproducts, the benefits of old age, where he can't hear crap anymore, and so he was fine. He was looking at me like, "Hey, let's go play." I mean, I want to play with my squirrel, so it wasn't bad. But, you know what? I had an epiphany, and I think I had a dream about this, that I was attending a barbecue at Ed Garcia's house. How great would that be, Tony Segreto?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
I make a lot of Texas Roadhouse stuff, but I do it with my smoker. And I tell you, that's just a little bit of a twist. You know, I don't mess with the sides. That's easy, so I can focus on all the protein. But I love making a smoked fish dip, some smoked queso, and a brisket. So
Oof.
Pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah, no, sounds good to me.
Those are my specialties.
All right, I got a question for
Yeah.
you. I was on a friend of mine's radio show the other day out of Palm Beach, the Greek who has a gambling show. So, and he gets way ahead of himself because a lot of people are kind of staggering through the summer waiting for football to start. And he puts this to me. I guess Texas, with Arch Manning as their starting quarterback, is opening up at Ohio State, the Horseshoe.
Yes.
And Texas is getting 3 points in this game. And he was asking me, what do I expect? Can Arch Manning open up with some monumental victory? And I had to tell him, I said, I'm assuming Ohio State's going to be good again this year. I know you despise them like I do, and I'm not sure Tony's probably not on board with this. But I would like to see Ohio State lose every game. But I didn't have an answer for him.
There'd be nothing more pleasurable to me, nothing more pleasurable to me than Ohio State losing the entire season.
Every game. And I'm sure, Ed, you're on board with that. But obviously following Michigan, you probably have to make yourself somewhat aware of what Ohio State's all about. Do you have any idea, any kind of a sense of what they're going to represent this year out there on the field, Ohio State and Ryan Day?
Hey, I'll tell you, the Big Ten is going to have a huge presence. Penn State and Ohio State, those are going to be the hammers out there. And, I would love to say Michigan is going to be in the finals. I do have some small faith, but, we have a very, very green team. I'll tell you, they're going to be dominant in the next few seasons. I mean, actually, I'm very confident of 2026 that they're just going to dominate 2026 with all the recruiting we've done. 2025, Ohio State has some really, really awesome players that are returning from last year, as well as his name Jeremiah. That's on there. I mean, I'll tell you, I think Texas has got their work cut out for them. I agree with Tony. I think it would be awesome to see them go 0-16, but at the same time, my favorite game to watch them lose is versus Michigan. That's the big one right there.
That used to be a thing, Tony. You can relate to this, where there was always this battle, especially on sports talk radio, Dolphin fans and Jet fans. And the Jet fans would stipulate that they felt it was a successful season, even if they went 2-14, as long as those 2 wins were against the Dolphins.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And that's where it was with Miami years ago. If they beat Florida, it was a successful season.
Didn't matter what else happened.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's possible. All right. So I mean, as long as we're on this, who are we looking at this year? I mean, your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, are they going to be back in the picture again? No, what do we see?
Notre Dame looks really, really strong. They look, every year they look at Notre Dame and they say that's a good team. This year, I think, I believe that they have something there. That they're so loaded that I'd be disappointed if they didn't go 10-1, 10-11, 16 and whatever. So they're going to be good. I think, what I think? I think Miami's going to be really good. And to see them play the opening game.
Miami open the season, yeah.
I'm laughing because I'm factoring in the Cristobal factor. I don't know. I mean, am I being overly harsh?
No, you're not.
Considering
I'm thinking that they're so good they can overcome the Cristobal factor.
That's a heavy weight to carry.
That's a lot.
They, in North Street, you must carry the weight of the grandstand. What do you think, Ed? I mean, who do you have as the top teams out there? Is it the usual suspects again?
Well, Penn State's got the senior quarterback Drew LR, and that's going to be a really big force. And then Ohio State's got the Jeremiah. So those are going to be some of the top 2 contenders, I think, for. And granted, they're in the same conference, but if I had to make a choice right now and throw 100 on. I got to choose 2 teams that throw 100 on each one of those, and pretty confident that one of those 2 will will win. They just look really solid. Penn State put up a really great fight last year. They had a lot of people return. Ohio State will still lose to Michigan at Michigan this year, which is awesome.
Where does Clemson and Georgia and the SEC teams fit in all of this?
LSU, you always have a
SEC is struggling a little bit because now that buying players has become legal, they're not good at it.
Amen.
There's always a way, right? You're good as a criminal, but no good when it's legit.
Yeah.
So, no, I think Georgia's gonna do good. I think they're gonna have 3 losses. Alabama's gonna have 3 losses. Texas is gonna be high and low. That the quarterback game, even though they dominated, they had 2 awesome quarterbacks last year. It was just a lot of highs and lows, for the Texas team. So, but I feel overall the Big Ten especially now that Oregon's in there, Washington's looking pretty good. I think Notre Dame will put up a pretty good fight, and Miami's going to be really fun to watch this year. I think that, granted, I love the comment about Cristobal, but that will be a great.
Will he ever live that down? Will Cristobal?
It's hard to imagine, Tony.
Because he does it every year.
It just seems to be a consistency
eternal.
with this
He
guy.
does it every year.
He sometimes gets away with it. The team is able to overcome it. But you're looking at how many coaches make as many bonehead mistakes, just blatant bonehead mistakes as Mario Cristobal has made.
I can't think of one. I just can't think of one because they come every year.
Yes.
There's an over-under every year. How many bonehead mistakes will he make?
Yeah, because look, the Georgia Tech was 2 years ago.
Wow.
Last year,
That's right.
they should have gone undefeated. They had one of the easiest schedules in the entire country, and they had the number 1 pick, the runner-up for the Heisman.
They're up 40 points on Syracuse. They lose that game.
The Cal game was that was one of FSU's 2 wins, and they pulled it out of the rear, but they were down big versus Cal. The Syracuse game late in the year, I think they lose to Georgia Tech again. They just, I don't know. They find ways to grab losses from wins, and that is squarely on Cristobal.
Snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, right there. Lubie, you're awfully silent about Florida State. What's going on there?
I think I'm very intrigued. Look, they won 2 games last year, so you can only go up from that. They made a lot of changes.
That's not true, Lubie. You can go down.
I guess you can go down.
You think it's going to get worse?
No, their schedule is actually a little bit better than it was last year. I'm intrigued. I don't know. They changed 70 to 80% of the staff. So you have to see they brought in a lot of transfers, and they finished recruiting strong, and they've been on a really hot month in recruiting. So we'll see. I don't know. No, this is it for Norvell. They've had as much failure as they've had success. So it's season 6. He's got to win 8 or more games. That's
he's got his players now.
Yeah, he has to by now. So we'll see. I think they should win 6 to 8 games. I think again we've seen the ACC sort of it's Miami, Clemson, and then a lot of So we'll see what Florida State is. I think they'll be vastly improved, but after last year, I'm scared to go on any limbs for that.
Oh yeah, you'd be hanging from one. It's danger.
It's a weak limb.
Yes, it's a very.
Eddie, what do you think? We haven't mentioned them. I've read a mixed bag of speculation about them Florida Gators. We know Tony hates them like poison. I don't know how you feel about them because you're upstairs in the area. So I don't think you can come out if you want to be politically correct here and say you despise the Gators and hope they also lose every game. Are they a program that could surprise people this year in any way? Could they be the ups? Do they play the Canes this year? I want to say yes to that. No,
I don't think they do.
They don't.
Yeah, Florida is going to put up some really, really great games. I don't feel that they have the depth yet. Recruiting has changed a lot, I think, the last couple of years with the NIL. There's been so many flips, so many just transfers at the very last second. I think Miami and Notre Dame's dealing with an issue right now, and I don't know, someone's getting sued, which is kind of funny. But
usually Miami.
Anyway, somebody I don't know. I guess there was somebody flipped and it didn't go through the proper channel. I don't know, the drama of the college today, but I don't know. Besides Miami, I think Miami's going to be the only team to really just kind of put up the big fight out there for, getting close to the championship. The Gators are just not going to have enough wins throughout the year. Florida State's got a big road ahead of them right now. I mean, I'll tell you, you really got to be looking 3 years out right now with the recruiting that's going on. Is absolutely bananas.
It is nuts, Ed. I read a story the other day that it's crazy. The school, each school is looking for boosters to supply more money to them to help them recruit.
Yep.
Well, what I'm reading is and seeing is it's about the agent and the negotiations. I think the schools have money. It's just, whose pocket is it going to go into and how do you divvy it up properly? But the agents that know how to negotiate right now. And again, Michigan is one of those that has really changed the program. In the past, they've been in the 20s, as far as recruiting class. Right now they're in the top 7, depending on this Saturday. There's a gentleman, Calvin. It's not Calvin Johnson. That was from the Lions. But anyway, that if he flips, that's going to put Michigan in the top 5. And, it really boils down to that piece right there is what I'm reading a lot. It's just the negotiation part. And you build that team and everybody is involved right now. Michigan has Bryce Underwood, which was the number 1 recruit last year for the quarterback, but he's been really involved with the recruiting process as well, saying, hey, Lubie, you're going to be my wide receiver. I need you as my safety. I need you as my OT, things like that. I think that that whole recruiting game has changed quite a bit. And, it just depends on how quick you can pick up on that program. We did about 2 years ago, I talked about Ohio State on here, and I said, Ohio State figured out the NIL faster than anybody else. And guess what? They won the national championship, but they did lose to Michigan, just to be clear. But won the national championship.
Having seen Lubie out on a pass pattern that day, we took him down to FAU. George Plimpton. This quarterback, even at $12 million a year, Red, if he's throwing Lubie, I have to say, Lubie showed a tremendous physical toughness.
I'm tough. I'm just college D1 athlete.
You're tough. You're not smart enough, but you're tough enough. He
was tough. Wow.
I may be smart. I'm not fast enough. Smart.
Our friend Charlie Partridge, who was the head coach at the time, and probably was the only guy that would have been sucked into doing this. He had Lubie trying to block an Outland Trophy candidate in the first exercise he did. Ed, you should have seen this. Do we still have clips of that somewhere? We really should use them on the show. And then he goes out for a pass, and the safety in the corner both converge on Lubie, smack him in the head before the ball gets there. And he still gets a hand on the ball.
Almost caught it.
It was almost like he was grasping for some of those meat falls off the bone baby back. All right, what's happening at Texas Roadhouse, Ed Garcia? What can we look forward to in the summer? Gift cards, anything specials? So what do we got going?
Hey, summer's kicking on strong. Hey, we're focusing big time right now on our fall off the bone ribs, and we just had a big class throughout all my locations. And this is what I love about Texas Roadhouse. We brought everybody in together, and we did the rib process from A to Z to just make sure that we're still firing on all cylinders. We're just reviewing our playbook to make sure that we're executing 100%. And I'll tell you right now, we're scoring touchdowns left and right with our 3-day cooking process on that ribs. Our beef still holding very, very strong. Hand cut, each and every single day. So come on in and wash it down with an awesome margarita.
Yeah,
Ed, for me to go to a Texas Roadhouse here, I have to travel all the way to Albany.
May as well go to Saratoga while you're on that ride.
I should.
Yeah.
They go to the Texas Roadhouse for lunch and then go to Saratoga.
That's
the way to go, yeah. Or just, pop it in the car and while you're riding an extra, what is it, like an hour drive from Albany, something like that, or half hour, then you got everything you need for one of those picnic tables. Ed, always a pleasure, my friend. Good luck. It was always a lot of fun having you on the show. Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen, Texas Roadhouse Restaurants.
Yeah, Ed.
And Tony Segreto, what are you looking forward to from the sporting world this week? You're not involved in any of this soccer that Jim Sarney is always trying to foist on us, where he wants us to delve deeply. I don't know what tournament is what. Do you, Lubie? Do you have any idea what's going on with that?
I know they were doing that Fakakta fake. Like it wasn't World
Club
Cup because it was
tournament,
club. I don't know. I don't know. Didn't we finish that?
Does it matter what's happening?
Yeah.
I think the big game's coming up, and Trump is going to attend. So all the
Yes,
more
there you
reason for me not to watch. Yeah.
Look at that.
Oy vey. Any concentration? I mean, any new internment camps
Yeah.
going up there in the hills of Vermont? That would be the last place, I guess, they would put one because there might
Beautiful.
be scenery there. All right, Tony, we love you, man, and
Love you, sir.
thanks so much for being with us. It's always a pleasure. Tony Segreto,
Thank you very much, guys.
old school Yankee hat he had on there. All right, very good, Lubie. College football preview. I couldn't believe the Greek was asking me about the opening week of the college football season, trying to assess a game versus the point spread at Ohio State. I mean, would you be inclined to go ahead and lay
not ready.
at Ohio State? That doesn't sound like a lot to overcome, does it?
I'm just not ready. I know it's going to be the usual suspects in some form, but there's a lot of quarterback change. So I'm not there yet. I mean, like, let's get into August and then I'll be able to hone in more on football.
Premature evaluation, as we like to say on the show. You guys have a great day. Tomorrow, we're uncertain, but I believe it's more on the positive side. Dave Gurgles Gurgley, after the hip replacement surgery, seems to have recovered
Yeah, he was here last week.
very quickly. So we should have a trivia challenge for you tomorrow. And then Friday, we got the professor coming back with us. And what will be another spectacular segment with his big board. So a lot to look forward to here on the show. You guys have a great day. And from Mike Lubie, it's Tony Segreto, Ed Garcia. I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:05.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.